need to put you on the spot.
I just use my roll call minutes to keep track, and it looks like we've got 5 of our 18. 1, 2.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. That's what we need for sure. Sometimes county council attends as well, and I would ask county council if we can just go ahead and proceed without the quorum, just to get it started. And you know what, I'm happy to run down the hall quickly and confirm. Is that helpful? How about if I do that? I'll be back in just a minute. Okay. I'm back. I just confirmed with county council. We can convene the meeting. We can begin. We just can't take official action, so we can begin with presentations. So I'll call the meeting to order until and if our chair arrives, hopefully he will, but if not, we'll go ahead and proceed. We're we have introductions. I'm not sure if anybody would like to introduce themselves that is not a member. Otherwise, I see a lot of familiar faces, and then a couple of folks that are going to present. Anybody new to our meeting that would like to introduce themselves? I'm not seeing any. Okay, we'll skip item 3, which are the minutes. Public comments. Let me open it up for anybody that would like to provide public comments for our meeting today. I'm not seeing any. Angie is confirming we do not have any public comments at this time. Okay, great. Well, let's move on to not great that we don't have public comments, but okay, let's move on to the next agenda item, which is the Deschutes County deflection. So Neil Marchington with the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office to provide the program update, please. Again, is Neil or
Nick, it doesn't look like they are. I'm not quite sure what happened. We definitely communicated with them and had them on the list. So I think we'll just need to move forward. I do see Stephen Webster here, who's the item number 6.
Yeah, I know those good old Roman numerals. We'll move on to agenda item number 6, the Statistical Transparency of Policing STOP program. Steve Webster, Department of Public Safety Standards and Training. Steve, thank you for being with us. Or Steve, I see Stephen on the screen. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly for a program update. So if I may, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Steve is fine. Stephen is just the way it shows up there. So the presentation I have is very short, to the point. Under the Statistical Transparency of Policing bill that came out 2355 and 17, part of it says that once the Criminal Justice Commission puts out the report, which is due December 1, if an agency is referred to DPSST for technical assistance and or training. Whatever DPSST gives them or assists them with, we have to do a report to the LPSCC to say what we did for that particular thing. And in this latest report, the Deschutes County Sheriff's Officer got identified in 2 of 3 analysis that the CJC does. Those 2 analysis were one for the analysis of decision to stop, and the other for the stop outcomes when they submit all of the data to CJC and the commission actually looks at the data and crunches numbers. When we chatted with the sheriff's office, they identified that they were going through a transition within their eSite program and possibly it looks like even maybe their CAD system. And the 2 analysis that they were looking at, the decision to stop, which is basically the agency makes each officer independently makes a decision to stop a particular vehicle or a pedestrian. And the analysis looks at that in intertwilight hour windows. So basically a time of year where it would be daylight out and then a time of year the same time on the clock, but at that time of year it would be darkness. And they compare the 2 to see if there's any disparity going on. The stop outcome is whether or not a citation was issued or a particular arrest was made or whatnot. They sound simple in their names, but the reality is there's a lot of variables involved, and that's where discussion deep down in starts taking place with the agencies if they get identified. In this one, we chatted with the sheriff's office, and it sounded like they were dealing with so much potential issues for a new eSite program, for a new CAD system. I believe they called it Tyler, if I'm not mistaken, and also Brazos tied to these eSite programs. And they determined that it might explain why as many as 40% of the stop entries don't have specific violations entered. So after discussing with them, they were pretty confident that there was a technological issue going on and there didn't seem to be anything else. We referred them to some of our online training that we have on the website to put out to whoever they wanted within their sworn element. And they were going to take a look at both of the online offerings that we had through DPSST. And that pretty much recaps what we did with them to make it short and simple. But I'm open to any questions that anybody might have, which is not that you need to. It's pretty common that most people don't, but this is just something that is required by law that we present within a reasonable amount of time after we've actually done some assistance.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Let me just open it up to the group. Any questions? Anybody would like to jump in?
I guess I actually did. Stephen, I know you contacted my colleague Trevor to set this presentation up as for the reason you just said, that there's a requirement for you to share when you have interacted with this process. But just to maybe 30,000 foot level, what are the disparities that you are looking for? And what does the time of day have to do with those disparities in traffic citations? Is that the premise?
Okay, that's a fair question. So the idea for the time of day, it used to be, and in other areas, this particular analysis, the decision to stop, was often called the veil of darkness. And the concept is if there is any kind of discrimination or profiling going on, then it is likely due to the officer being able to see the individual before they stop them. So with that concept, they look at the same times on the clock where daylight is present and you would be able to theoretically see the individual, and compare it against the number of stops where daylight is not present at the same time on the clock, and see if there is an issue. Now, if it does pop up that there is a disparity, it doesn't automatically mean that any profile is going on. A lot of times there is deeper dives, could be a transient population that is there, physically there within the community during one time of the year, but is completely absent during another. We see this for some agencies if they have a high agricultural output, and during a growing season that group might be there, and at other times they might not. Sometimes it's explained by technical difficulties and issues, such as what seems to be happening with the chutes as far as the new system that they were going to. Does that sort of explain what you were wanting? Does that help?
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. With
Yeah.
that, if there's nothing else, I'll just make a segue on stage left, if you will.
That sounds, yeah, whatever works for you. We're happy to have you stay if you wish. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you again.
Well, that takes us to the last item on our agenda, which are any agency updates or any or other business that anybody would like to share or ask about. And I am not seeing any. So this is going to be a very brief meeting. I did see in the meeting attachments, which were great, the deflection program statistic data. So I appreciate having that, and hopefully we can have that conversation next month at our meeting. And if I recall correctly, it is Tuesday, April 1st. I see DD's confirming, and I believe next month is, yeah, I see the message down there, and I was going to say exactly the same thing. I think next month we are meeting in person. And I assume it may be a hybrid meeting. I'm not sure if we've discussed hybrid or if it's just going to be in person. We'll clarify, but it's certainly in person. And do we have a location for that meeting? We are, Angie.
Yeah, hi. I did book the room on the second floor at the sheriff's office for that meeting. They have that held for us. You have to check in at the front desk there at the sheriff's office, and they'll send you upstairs. I'll put that in the agenda. I forgot the name of the room at the moment, but it's at the sheriff's office.
Great, thank you. That's a great meeting space, and centrally located for a lot of folks. So that's great. The Mac room, yes, thank you. Thank you, Holly. Okay, if there's nothing else today, then thank you for joining us for a brief meeting, and we'll look forward to seeing you on April Fool's Day, April 1st, Tuesday in person at the sheriff's office. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, Nick.